is Dunc Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Way too 80s. It's all right.
Clyde's just randomly talking into the mic.
Why not? Why not?
Where's the horn?
What's the worst that could happen?
No kidding.
Short timer.
Exactly. I think Clyde and D Squared need to have the show together. That's what I'm thinking. What kind of disaster would that be?
Get anything accomplished?
It'd just be a bunch of screaming and then like good times and then really bad times.
It'd have to be somebody else that's working the board, because I mean Dave just can't say he's going to sit in one studio and have access to all the sounds and music and stuff like that. That's not fair.
There's no level playing field here, Clyde.
I guarantee you Dave can insert a horn button within these three buttons right here, because we have cough, on, and off. I bet you he can insert like a secret horn.
I could just log in, VPN in, and just hijack the entire system from my laptop.
Just do it. I think you should just do it.
D-League and the Cladicos.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
That sounds even worse than what I thought you were going to say.
That sounds like a band.
That sounds terrible.
That sounds like it could totally be Flight of the Conchords. Want to use Jermaine
for the ladies.
Exactly. But I don't know how we're segueing. What were we talking about last segment?
Meandering.
Coaches, Saints assistant coaches. Clyde brought up the topic. How long do you think that this group is going to stay together? And
one more year.
that was going to be my short of it. One more year, because I'm going to assume, say if Dennis Allen has a good year and the Saints have a good year, he's at least going to be a candidate. I think Dan Campbell is going to be a head coach at this time next year. I think possibly someone like Aaron Glenn, who got some sniffs.
Yep.
He could be elevated into maybe a defensive coordinator spot. I mean, that's one thing where they had Wesley McGriff for a while, and that was another voice like, I think you need to kind of let him go, and he went off, and I guess you could say it's a promotion, but not technically. You know, he went off to become the co-defensive coordinator. Where? Like South Carolina? I forget where he is now.
He's in the SEC.
I'm forgetting. I'm drawing a blank. But no, to go get someone like Aaron Glenn, because they've had former players who've been assistant coaches and haven't panned out. Say like Henry Ellard didn't pan out as the wide receiver coach. He did not.
But I think Mike Nolan's been kind of an under-the-radar addition, because he has had a lot of input on the defense, and I think has been a big help for Dennis Allen, who's still, relatively speaking, a young coach in that world. And I think he needed a kind of a veteran presence who's run a defense before, run a team, and has a different viewpoint than he had. And I think it's been a really good staff. Like if Dennis Allen left, it wouldn't surprise me if they promoted like Mike Nolan to be the defensive coordinator. I think something like that could happen. Or Ryan Nielsen, Aaron Glenn. They have a lot of candidates now, and you couldn't have said that a few years ago. Look, Joe Vitt, Bill Johnson, those guys are good coaches, Wesley McGriff, but they're not coordinator candidates.
Joe Vitt had been, but I think that was, I don't know how well that went.
Not now.
Well, not now, no.
You know what I mean? Like, I think these young guys, Ryan Nielsen in particular, I think is a rising star, and they had really no connection to him whatsoever. And so that speaks to Sean Payton's ability to identify coaching talent, find good coaches. Now, he knew Dan Campbell. Reading that Alex Marvez story on Dan Campbell, if you haven't had a chance to read that, it's an excellent story on Dan Campbell. I didn't realize that Sean Payton was coaching in New York, I think, when Dan Campbell was drafted. I don't even know where Dan Campbell played in college.
I don't know either. But, yeah, he coached Dan Campbell. That's where he first came into contact with him. Then Dan Campbell also went to Dallas, right?
Yes.
Sean Payton was there?
Under Parcells.
Right.
He's very much a Parcells acolyte, very much a believer in the Parcells way of running things. And I thought it was interesting in the story that Dan Campbell talked about how he thought he was too soft on the players in Miami. He said he thinks one of the biggest problems with former players that become head coaches is they used to be players, so they feel for the players' mentality and they have sympathy for the players and realize when they were playing how tough it was to go through, so then they're too soft. And that was definitely the case with Jim Haslett. No doubt about it. Jim Haslett, I think, gets a bad rap from Saints fans about his head coaching ability. He knows X's and O's. He had a good staff. His weakness as a head coach was exactly what Dan Campbell said. he would be too soft on the players from time to time because he used to play. And he would say, you know what, I remember going through that grind and I hated it, so maybe I'm going to back off and these guys will respond to me because they know that I know what they're going through. And actually it's the opposite. You got to be tougher on them.
Well, it's funny you say that. I'm trying to think off the top of my head how many ex-NFL players are head coaches right now. Would you even count Sean Payton? I wouldn't count Sean Payton.
He doesn't count.
Well, he threw
scab.
he threw interceptions against the Saints one year.
He was a scab. No, there's a lot of them though, right? I mean, there's
as head coaches. Think about it. There's not that many.
Frank Wright.
Well, he's one. Doug Peterson. He's one.
I think there's a lot.
Mike Tomlin. Did he ever play in the NFL?
No, I don't think so.
I'm trying to. I know one. I'm drawing a blank.
Doug Marrone was in camp with the Saints.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Well, I'm trying to think. Ron Rivera. That's the one I was thinking of.
Right.
Not
We know he played.
Jay Gruden.
Neither Gruden's. We just have to go through. But I don't think they're.
Vrabel.
Yeah.
Matt Patricia.
Matt Patricia played in the NFL.
No, he
Matt
didn't play.
No, Vrabel was.
Vrabel definitely was. So
Hugh Jackson, Marvin Lewis, neither one.
I guess they're more than I thought.
Yeah, I think there's more than you're thinking. Andy Reid did not play in the NFL.
Belichick, no.
Yeah, I don't.
Adam Gase, no.
All the Belichick disciples, I don't think any of them played.
Right.
As far as I know. Now, Vrabel, I guess, would count as a Belichick disciple.
I guess, yeah. He's in the tree.
But Kyle Shanahan, no, neither did the head coach of the Rams, the young guy.
Yeah.
What's the young guy at the Rams? Sean McVay. He did not. Now, he was a great high school and
Kyle
college
Shanahan did not.
Right.
I know we're
going down the
list. Basically brainstorming.
Radio here.
We're brainstorming on the radio here. On that note, let's take a break.
Yeah, man, I'm worn out.
And Dan Campbell played at Texas A&M.
But there is a headline I wanted to read to you, Larry. This is out of the Palm Beach Post today that I thought would intrigue.
Hold that headline. Hold that headline.
Through the break? Okay.
Yeah, it's we'll just hold it. It's worth me screaming about here for the next segment. Yes.
And I think our listeners will be intrigued by this headline.
I absolutely do as well. So it has nothing to do with Adrian Peterson getting an F. I'll just preface it in that way. But I'm probably given this player an F before, so we'll talk about that.
No doubt.
Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Dunc Holder.